The unexpected arrival. In the quiet reaches of the Milky Way, a new species was about to make its debut on the galactic stage. Humanity had only recently joined the United Galactic Federation, UGF, a coalition of sentient beings from across the galaxy. As a fledgling species, humans were protected under the UGF's long-standing protocols, ensuring they had time to adjust to the vastness of space without the threat of war. For 2 centuries, humans lived in peace, exploring their new celestial neighborhood and learning from the ancient races that had come before them. However, humanity's resilience and adaptability were traits that set them apart from other species. The Cautionary, the first race to ascend to the stars, were the first to make contact with humanity. They shared their knowledge freely, guiding the humans to habitable planets and teaching them the ways of the galaxy. The Cautionary marveled at the humans' ability to survive in environments that would be deadly to most species. It was a testament to their endurance, but it was also a clue that was overlooked. The Chuckle-Late, the most warlike of the primate races, were next to engage with humanity. They were intrigued by the humans' ability to down a Titian research drone, a feat that was considered impossible for a species so new to the galaxy. The Chuckle-Late spent hours in private discussions with human military representatives, and when they emerged, they spoke of the humans' formidable instincts for war. They recognized a potential in humanity that the other races had yet to see. The Tisan, the creators of the war beasts, were equally impressed. They found humanity's curiosity and ingenuity captivating, and they spent weeks exchanging knowledge on xenobiology and technology. The Tisan even incorporated elements of Earth's creatures into their genetically engineered beasts. Yet, despite all these signs, the other races of the UGF failed to grasp the full extent of humanity's potential. As the humans suggested hastening the proceedings, their pragmatic nature became apparent. They proposed meeting with each of the remaining delegations separately in an effort to speed up the process. The other races, tired after weeks of discussions, agreed. Even then, the humans' practicality was evident, but it was dismissed as impatience. The older races had grown accustomed to a certain status quo, and they were blind to the marvels that humanity represented. The Surlians, one of the UGF's oldest members, were the only race to express doubts about humanity's ability to thrive in the galaxy. They saw the humans' short lifespan as a disadvantage, believing that it would hinder their development. But the other races saw potential where the Surlians saw limitations. They recognized humanity's room for growth, but they underestimated just how far humans could go. The warning signs were there, but they were missed. Humanity was not just another race in the galaxy. There was something new, something different. Their story was only beginning, and it would be a tale of regret and revelation for those who had failed to see what was right in front of them. The gathering storm. As the years passed, humanity continued to grow and expand its influence within the UGF. Their ability to adapt to various environments and their relentless curiosity led them to explore even the most inhospitable corners of the galaxy. They formed alliances with other races, traded knowledge, and shared their technological advancements. However, beneath the surface of this peaceful coexistence, tensions were beginning to rise. The Chuckle-Late, always eager for a challenge, saw humanity's rapid advancement as both an opportunity and a threat. They admired the humans' military prowess, but they also feared what they might become. The Chuckle-Late had always prided themselves on being the galaxy's greatest warriors, but now they were no longer sure of their place at the top. The humans had proven themselves capable of great feats, and the Chuckle-Late knew that it was only a matter of time before they would have to face them on the battlefield. Meanwhile, the Tisan continued to work closely with humanity, fascinated by their boundless creativity. They collaborated on numerous projects, blending their biological expertise with human technology. The result was a series of groundbreaking innovations that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Yet, the Tisan couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing with fire. They had seen firsthand what humans were capable of, and they knew that their creations could be used for purposes far beyond peaceful exploration. Although the Serlians, still skeptical of humanity's long-term potential, watched these developments with growing concern. They had always been a cautious and deliberate race, preferring to take the slow and steady path. To them, humanity's rapid rise was unnatural, and they feared that it would lead to disaster. The Serlians believed that the humans were rushing headlong into something they didn't fully understand, and they worried that the rest of the galaxy would be caught in the fallout. As these tensions simmered, the UGF began to fracture. Old alliances were tested, and new ones were formed. The Caithari, who had once been humanity's greatest advocates, now found themselves questioning their decision to bring the humans into the fold. They had hoped that humanity would bring new energy and vitality to the UGF, but instead, they saw the seeds of conflict being sown. The Caithari were wise, but even they couldn't predict what would happen next. And so, the galaxy stood on the brink of a new era. The warning signs were there, but once again they were missed. Humanity's story was far from over, but the next chapter would be written in blood and fire. The gathering storm was about to break, and no one would be left untouched by its fury. The first strike. The tension between humanity and the Tisthulkul had been building for years, and it finally reached a boiling point on the distant planet of Vardos. Vardos was a mineral-rich world, coveted by many races for its vast resources. The Tisthulkul had long claimed it as part of their territory, but humanity had recently established a colony there, sparking outrage among the Tisthulkul leadership. For weeks, diplomatic efforts were made to resolve the dispute, but neither side was willing to back down. The Tisthulkul saw the human presence on Vardos as an affront to their honor, while the humans believed they had every right to settle on the planet. Talks broke down, and the Tisthulkul began mobilizing their forces for war. The first strike came without warning. Tisthulkul warships descended on Vardos, bombarding the human colony with relentless precision. The humans were caught off guard, but they quickly rallied, deploying their own defenses and launching counterattacks. The battle for Vardos was fierce, with neither side willing to concede an inch of ground. The Tisthulkul were confident in their superiority, but they had underestimated the humans' tenacity. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the human forces fought with a determination that stunned their enemies. They used every trick they had learned in their short time in the galaxy, employing guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and even psychological warfare to turn the tide of battle. The Tisthulkul, who had once seen themselves as the galaxy's greatest warriors, now found themselves locked in a brutal struggle with a foe they had once dismissed as weak. The humans' resilience and ingenuity were on full display, and for the first time, the Tisthulkul began to doubt their ability to win. As the battle raged on, the rest of the galaxy watched in shock. The UGF had never seen anything like this before. The humans, who had once been the protagonists of the Primarch races, were now proving themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. The other races began to realize that the humans were not just another species. They were something more, something dangerous. The warning signs were there, but they were ignored. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The battle for Vardos was just the beginning, and it would set the stage for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of the United Galactic Federation. The turning point. The Battle of Vardos marked a turning point in the relationship between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. The humans had proven themselves in combat, and their victory over the Tisthulkul sent shockwaves throughout the UGF. No longer were they seen as a fledgling species in need of protection. They were now recognized as a formidable power in their own right. But with this newfound respect came fear. The other races of the UGF began to question what humanity's rise would mean for the balance of power in the galaxy. The Caithari, who had once been humanity's staunchest supporters, now found themselves wondering if they had made a mistake. The Tissan, who had grown close to the humans, began to worry that their creations might be used for darker purposes. And the Serlians, ever cautious, saw the potential for disaster in humanity's rapid ascent. The UGF convened an emergency council to address the situation. Representatives from all the major races gathered to discuss the implications of humanity's rise and how to prevent further conflict. There were heated debates, with some arguing that humanity should be reined in, while others believed that they should be allowed to continue their growth unchecked. In the end, a compromise was reached. The UGF would place restrictions on humanity's expansion, limiting their ability to colonize new worlds and develop advanced military technologies. In return, humanity would be granted a seat on the UGF's ruling council, giving them a voice in galactic affairs for the first time. The humans accepted the deal, but they knew that it was only a temporary solution. They had tasted victory, and they were not about to let anyone stand in their way. They continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, developing new technologies and expanding their influence throughout the galaxy. But the other races were not idle. The Tsukul, humiliated by their defeat, began to rebuild their forces, preparing for the day when they could take their revenge. The Tisan, wary of what their creations might become, began to distance themselves from humanity, focusing on their own research. And the Serlians, ever vigilant, watched humanity's every move, waiting for the moment when they would overstep their bounds. The galaxy was now on a knife's edge, with the balance of power shifting in unpredictable ways. The warning signs were there, but they were once again ignored. The turning point had come, and there was no going back. The dark horizon. As humanity continued to push forward, they began to encounter new challenges. The restrictions placed on them by the UGF had slowed their expansion, but it had not stopped them. They found ways to work around the limitations, developing new technologies in secret and establishing hidden colonies in uncharted regions of space. But with each new achievement, humanity drew closer to the edge. The Tsukokol, still nursing their wounds from the Battle of Vardos, began to plot their revenge. They forged alliances with other races who felt threatened by humanity's rise, forming a coalition that would one day challenge the humans' dominance. The Tisan, once humanity's closest allies, now watched them with suspicion. They had seen the dark side of human ingenuity, and they feared what would happen if those talents were turned towards war. They began to distance themselves from humanity, focusing on their own research and strengthening their defenses. The Serlians, ever cautious, continued to monitor humanity's every move. They had always believed that the humans were moving too fast, and now they were more certain than ever that disaster was looming. They tried to warn the other races, but their concerns were dismissed as paranoia. And so, the galaxy continued to hurtle towards a dark horizon. The warning signs were there, but they were ignored. The storm was coming, and when it broke, it would sweep away everything in its path. The final countdown. The tensions that had been building for years finally reached their breaking point. The Tsukokol, emboldened by their new alliances, launched a surprise attack on a human colony in a remote part of the galaxy. The humans, caught off guard, were quickly overwhelmed, and the colony was destroyed. The attack sent shockwaves throughout the UGF. The other races, who had been watching from the sidelines, were now forced to choose sides. Some rallied to humanity's defense, recognizing that they were the only force capable of standing up to the Tsukokol and their allies. Others saw an opportunity to weaken humanity and gain power for themselves. The humans, for their part, were furious. They had tried to play by the rules, but now those rules had been broken. They mobilized their forces, preparing for all-out war. The UGF, once a symbol of unity and cooperation, was now on the brink of collapse. The countdown had begun. The galaxy was about to be plunged into a conflict that would change everything. The warning signs had been ignored for too long, and now it was too late to stop what was coming. The day of reckoning. The war that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Battles raged across countless worlds, with millions of lives lost on both sides. The Tsukokol and their allies fought with everything they had, but the humans were relentless. They used every weapon at their disposal, pushing the boundaries of what was possible and achieving victories that seemed impossible. But the cost was high. The UGF, once a beacon of hope and progress, was shattered. Old alliances were broken, and new ones were forged in the fires of war. The galaxy was left in ruins, with entire civilizations wiped out in the conflict. In the end, humanity emerged victorious, but it was a hollow victory. They had won the war, but they had lost something far more important: their place in the galaxy. The other races, once their allies, now saw them as a threat that needed to be contained. The humans, for their part, had grown weary of the endless conflict, and they retreated to their own corner of the galaxy, isolated and alone. The day of reckoning had come, and the warning signs had been ignored. The galaxy had paid a terrible price, and it would never be the same again. But humanity's story was not over. They had been humbled, but they were not defeated. They would rebuild, and one day they would return to the stars. And when they did, they would be ready for whatever awaited them.